Bodie, California. That is the ghost town in the Eastern Sierra where I took some inside shots a couple of years ago. I had to pay for a permit because the buildings are normally locked, most of them at least. But I really wanted to go inside one time to take these pictures, and this is one of them. So this was in San Leon's bar. Bodie is actually one of the best preserved ghost towns in the United States. It was a gold and silver mining town, and it had its heydays in the late 1800s, like 1879 I believe was its best year around that time. The interesting thing is that it was just black and white photography. People in those days used to color their photographs with oil-based paints, which is what I'm going to do now with
When are you going to mention that you were a ninja?
Oh yes, so of course I had to adhere to a lot of rules when I was in here. Most of this is original, it was not staged. I had to fold my tripod each time when I moved around. I had to take off my backpack, leave that outside. And as Katie just mentioned, I had to move around carefully, not to knock anything over here. I wasn't even allowed to touch cobwebs or dust on tables and stuff. So anyway, I'm going to color this with my Marshall photo oils, which are over here. So these are very transparent oil paints, and I'm going to put the colors on for the big surfaces with cotton rounds, the details with Q-tips. You can also remove paint with Q-tips or even with cotton rounds. And for the very detailed work, I have these very pointy Q-tips, which are called ITs. So let's do this. Okay, so I'm going to use a lot of browns for this image, mostly burnt sienna. So I put some burnt sienna on a cotton round, and just let's start with the background here. I'm probably going to use sepia, some yellows, maybe raw sienna. Even mix it on the photo paper. So I was here in 2013, actually April 1st, 2013, which is not an April Fool's joke. And I've been to Bodie before a couple of times, and you can walk around town. This is a state historic park. You can walk around town, look through the windows, look inside, and some buildings you can go in, not many, and those are staged. But the most interesting ones, for example like this one, this is San Leon's bar, as I mentioned earlier, you cannot get in. So I really wanted to go inside these buildings, and I looked into how I could do that, and it turned out, so first I called the park, and the ranger told me that I have to arrange it through the Bodie Foundation, so that's what I did. And then the guy the monitor who showed me around, he was the ex-supervisor ranger, and so he knew a lot of stuff. Also, my brother-in-law was with me. It's a very windy road that leads to Bodie, and it's a pass. It's a very mountainous area, and the Caltrans doesn't clear the snow off the road, so during wintertime it's locked off anyway. But when the snow is gone, the gates opened again, but it can be very muddy, and so my brother-in-law has a 4-wheel drive, and he drove me over there, and then he was also with me here inside. I didn't really know yet about this one, and so this was not on my list. I had put 4 buildings on my list, and the ranger, ex-ranger, the monitor, he suggested a few more, and this was one of them. Okay, so you can see this looks a little weird here because it's so bright. This is a very saturated color here. Looks a little odd. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to make that a lot lighter with a clean cotton wand. If you have seen this image of mine before, you might think, hey, this is a mirror image, and you're right, it is. So in reality, the piano was actually on this side. I flipped the image digitally because for aesthetic reasons. This image is on the wall in a restaurant in San Diego, and I had like a triptych arrangement. This one was just 1 out of 3, and it just looked best if the piano was on this side. Otherwise, I sell the image when it's not flipped. Okay, let's do the piano. Same color, but thicker. And not really trying to do it uniformly either. You can see there's some areas where I put it on thicker and thinner. This is an HDR image, high dynamic range. I shot a lot of those that way in Bodie, inside the buildings, because of course you can see there's a lot of light coming from the inside here, from the outside here, and it's kind of dark in the back here. So just for very practical reasons, I did HDR photos. Not to give it like a typical HDR effect. I use it really what it's meant for, which is to combine very bright areas with very dark areas. And this was actually combined out of 5 photos. I took 5 photos, got rid of 2 of them, was left with the middle, the overexposed and the underexposed. Let's add even more color in the front here. here. This is cadmium yellow. Just blotches of it, not too much. Of course, that's too much right there. I'll take a Q-tip, remove this. This is actually the reflection from outside. There was snow that day. There was snow in the morning, and then it got pretty warm and the snow was all gone in the afternoon. Let's add some sepia to this table. So in the back here, that's an old slot machine. Let's give that a bluish tint. Let's see, I'll use navy blue. And then a little bit of sepia to this table. This in the back here is an old roulette table. So let's add a very subtle green to this table. It's oxide green. These chips are too small to give it a different color, so I'll just go over those. Okay, tone it down a little. That's subtle enough. Let's add some blue, sky blue to the sky. That will look nice, contrasting with the warmth of the other parts of the image. Since that's a relatively small area, I'll do that with a Q-tip. Of course, that's too much. With the other side, I will remove some. And then even more down here. Since we're here, let's add a little bit of burnt sienna to these buildings. Trying not to touch the snow. again with a clean one, I remove some of that blue. And keep more towards the top here. And then also let's add some sepia to the bench here. You know what? Let's see what raw sienna looks like. It's raw sienna, it's very close to burnt sienna, but this one has a more yellowish tone to it. Might blend in too much still when you put it on thin with the rest, but we'll see. That looks too much of the same, so let's do sepia instead. And then a little thicker towards me. Pushing hard here, getting that color on there, and then here I would like to have it less still. Now we have a nice gradient going from front to back on this stool. Okay, and we're done. So I finished it. As you can see, it's slightly different from the HDR photo that I showed you earlier, but then again, none of my photos I color always identical. If you like this, please subscribe to my channel, and I will see you next time.